Turning now to your community focus, Rhode Island's Attorney General is now involved in the potential litigation connected to the Washington Bridge breakdown. He joins me now in studio to talk about that and more. Thanks for being here.
Sure, good to be with you.
Before we get to the Washington Bridge, I want to ask you about a deceptive trade practices lawsuit that you just filed against a company that runs and owns parking lots and garages, mostly in Providence. What are you alleging?
Yeah, so this is a company that runs, among other things, the Civic Center garage and the P-Pack garage. They've got between 15 and 20, mostly in Providence, but some in Newport and one in East Greenwich. What we're alleging is that they are misleading people who park in those facilities. They are advertising an hourly rate, but not actually charging an hourly rate, so people's rates become increased, so deceptive trade practice. Some of their signage makes it appear that if you overstay the amount you pay for, that you could be ticketed, and that would impact your license or registration, which of course they have no power to affect. So there's a broad range of deceptive conduct that they are utilizing at their parking lots with respect to consumers. And so we've gone to court today, and we hope to be in court tomorrow seeking an injunction to prevent them from doing that further.
And so if you get that injunction, would that immediately change the way they're doing business at these lots?
It should. That's the goal, is to be, look, our goal whenever we bring a consumer action is that consumers be treated fairly. You know, a lot of people sometimes equate that with being anti-business, not what that is at all. These parking lots, we allege, are making way more money than their competitive parking lots are making because they're being misleading when it comes to consumers, and that's what we're trying to address.
And I did reach out to that company, and I'm waiting for a response back, so we'll bring that to you when we get it. You were on Newsmakers with Ted Nesi and Tim White last week, and you mentioned that the outside attorneys that the governor's office hired to bring litigation against those Washington Bridge contractors, Max Wistow and Jonathan Savage, reached out to you about helping in the lawsuit in some way. I was frankly surprised to hear that. So fill us in on your role in this.
Yeah,
now.
I don't think helping is the right word. I mean, the reality is that when the state brings a lawsuit, it's pretty clear that what the law requires is that my office, the Attorney General, me in the end, be the final decision maker with respect to that litigation. The reality is that without us being in the case risked negative consequences, maybe even being dismissed. And so we had conversations with counsel for the governor within the last couple of weeks. We've discussed that very issue. All of us felt it was very important that my office be in the case for the betterment of the case. And so the way we envision it going forward is Mr. Wistow and Mr. Savage will work with lawyers from our team. But at the end of the day, any decision making will come from me in my office. So
they had said, Max Wistow had said that they would file this lawsuit on or before August 19th. That's Monday. Is that timeline going to slip now? Well, we'll see. I mean, we got a copy of the complaint within the last couple of days. We've got to make sure that we're comfortable with it. But I recognize the urgency to try to get it done, and we're working very cooperatively with Mr. Savage and Mr. Wistow. I want to check with you just quickly on a couple of things, cold cases. You hinted earlier this summer that your new unit had effectively solved 2 of them, and we'd know more by mid-summer. It's August now. Yes, any sense of when those details will come out? Yeah, pretty soon, Kim. I have a report on my desk, which is final. I just have to approve it with respect to one of those cases. And then, we want to be in a position, obviously, to alert the family, which we haven't done yet, and then be in a position to walk the public through the case. And I want to do that at the appropriate time. And so I would suspect, sometime, right after the 1st of September would be the right time to do that. And on ILO, we've talked about this many times before. Back in March, you said the investigation was done. When will we hear those findings? Yeah, I think really soon. We're working closely with the state police, even as we speak, to put the final narrative together and a memorandum by my office analyzing what the state police found in their investigation. And I expect to be in a position to release that within the next several weeks, certainly by mid-September. Okay, and just quickly before we let you go, we've got about a minute left. State lawmakers are set to study whether to create a medical school at URI. You've been very vocal about the state of health care in Rhode Island, but I was reading your Twitter and you don't seem convinced that a medical school at URI will help. Why? Yeah, well, look, I'm married to a physician, and my son is now a physician. He graduated from medical school at WashU in St. Louis just this past spring. What's very clear is that, number one,
It's very expensive to run a medical school. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but we need to be cognizant of that expense. And you have to be connected very closely, physically and in terms of the way you work together with a hospital. And I'm just not sure where that URI med school would be. I think it would, frankly, I don't think it could be in Kingston. I think it would have to be in Providence. And then it doesn't really get to the underlying problem, which is, look, Rhode Islanders just don't stay here because they're Rhode Islanders. I have a son in Dallas and a son in Chicago. Doctors will stay here if the pay is competitive. It's not competitive. And until we take a step back and fix Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial insurance, we're not going to get doctors to come, and we won't keep them here either. So it's an intriguing idea, but it's complicated. And I think I just don't want to be, I don't want us to be unrealistic about what we can do there.
All right, Attorney General Peter Neronha, we are out of time, but thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Kim. Good to be with you.